or liberation, just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary on and discussion on the Star Wars books that came out today. It is Wednesday, November 20th, 2024, the 46th week of comics in 2024. I think last week when I looked at my notes, I actually said Wednesday, November 15th, when it was November 13th. I was doing some time travel there. Anyway, willing it was Friday. No, it is Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. 46 weeks of comics in 2024. I'm Matthew, coming to you from Underworld North Studio here in Toronto. That's Chris coming from Underworld North Studio in New Jersey. How you doing this week, Chris?
I'm doing very good. I am just involved by so many good Star Wars stories and a lot of good Star Wars news this week, so especially today.
That's true. Yeah, we got 2 books and 3 news stories to go to. That's going to be packed episode today. First off, get the quick plugs out of the way, and we'll pick them up again at the end. You can follow us Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Follow Chris on Twitter at Starraptor, STARRAPTER, and YouTube.com/Starraptor for all your bite size and more than bite size reviews. So you can play with the lighting now. That's what's going on. There we go. Keep it natural, Chris. Keep it natural.
I was trying to get this brighter.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
There we go. Also, last week I teased an announcement, made it on Monday on the Iron Cannon podcast. Spotify back on audio. If audio is more your speed to listen to our reviews, we're gonna bring up some comic book covers and some art got from Marvel.com, but we'll try and describe it for you as we'll say what it is, so that'll be easy. You can look it up after. But yeah, we are Tractor Beam. Iron Cannon is on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Tractor Beam is on Spotify. I just got to get the Apple set up. I mean, I don't know what other platforms people use. There's the option for Amazon, option for a whole bunch of them. So for now, just Spotify and Apple, and then let us know in the comments, in the chat. Do you use a different podcatcher? Please do let me know. So then I'll pop it on there. So yeah, please do check that out. Of course, we're here on YouTube, live on YouTube, live on Twitch every Wednesday night, because Wednesdays are for comics and comics are for Wednesdays. And of course, these videos, especially on YouTube, don't go anywhere. So if you want to watch, you want to see the comics. But yeah, audio. A lot of people, I listen to audio podcasts. So when people think of podcasts, they think audio still. So glad to get that back up and running. Also, we are proud members of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. Check out, of course, Iron Cannon Podcast on Monday, flagship tomorrow night. Everyone going around the network, doing lots of stuff. And we got the Discord server down in the notes, the minty fresh link if you want to jump in and chat about Star Wars, about Marvel, about Star Trek, about what have you, about hockey. There's a hockey comment that came out tonight. Also, Joel just up and made a separate spoiler thread for the Battle of Jakku comic tonight. So check that out specifically. If you want to chat about that one. Of course, you can chat here in the comments. Here on the Underworld YouTube channel, we have super chats and YouTube memberships. So if you do want to comment live to what we're saying, please feel free, and I will acknowledge it and get to it as best I can as soon as I can. There we go. Last but not least, Buddy Din from F105, local artist here, pretty well known in the Star Wars community, but a good friend of ours. He just released his new album. And speaking of Spotify, he released F105 2 Side A. It's II Side A, and so that's on Spotify. That's on, I believe it's on Apple. It's on everywhere you get your music. So please do check that out. Long awaited album. So happy to plug him. He'll probably be on Iron Cannon again at some point. So stay tuned for that. All right. Time to dive right in. We'll pick up again the plugs at the end and what we're up to elsewhere. Pick up the plugs at the end. But first off, High Republic Adventures number 12, written by Daniel Jose Older, art by Caio Felipe, cover by Michael Attier. You see there, and colors
Love the
by
cover.
Michael Attier.
We
Cover
got to shout out
by
the cover.
Harvey and Kevin, doing great as always. You got Farzala and Ram being cornered by these Nihil there, and it's
Spectacle.
fun.
It's just so fun to see all these electro stabs and blasters and whatnot, just all aimed at this. This is definitely a cover that stood out to me for the first time in a long time.
It's a key event in the comic book, in the actual story. So there's that. The Nihil are closing in on Valo, and a mysterious pirate radio broadcaster known as the Scarlet Skull has called for help. Padawan Ram, Jamaram, and Jedi Knight Farzala Taraval have bravely answered the distress call, but soon find themselves in over their heads. Will Ram, Farzala, and the Scarlet Skull manage to save Valo from the Nihil again? And I gotta say, first off, the thing that comes to mind is yet again Ram showing how mature he's become, how much he's grown. And there's even a panel. If I can find the panel in this comic where he just looks like an adult. He looks full on. I wish I had. Here, I found it right here. He's tapped into the calm, and just the way Caio and Michael drew him here, looking incredibly mature, incredibly grown up, and it just underlies how much this character has grown since Race for Crash Point Tower, which gets referenced in this book. And that's the second thing to note, is that the whole recounting of everything that's happened on this planet, in this city, Lonisa City, really, this book finally cements it as a location. I mean, Kevin Scott's The Rising Storm definitely cemented it as an important location, but everything that's happened in Phase 3 has really made it a focal point for not the grand sweeping events, but important key character moments, especially for Ram and for Gavi. And so to see that continue, Gavi and his master becoming cornered by the Warden, because the Warden's back on Valo, and Gavi, what can you do? You feel for him in that moment. What can he do in that moment but give up? And then Ram, I'm kind of recounting here, but Ram takes over, as we see in that scene, and he makes the call. All his work that he's tinkered and fixed this tower, that this tower itself, Crash Point Tower, has had this importance. Even I think that's partly involving with when the Nihil see the Drengir in the around there, and everything, just everything that's happened with this tower, symbolically for Ram, I guess, is, it symbolizes his childhood, his adolescence, his hiding in the tinkering, just kind of like how Reith would hide in the library. Of course, Reith isn't going to do to the library what Ram does to this tower.
That was shocking.
The only thing, what a moment, right? The only thing the option he has left to intercept this call for the Warden to get reinforcements to Valo is to blow the thing up. And it was pretty spectacular. Again, full page spread at the very end of this book, where yes, we do spoilers here on the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews. Kaboom! And just the resonance there of, he willfully does this. He willfully destroys this thing that he called home for a while. To say, so the Nihil can destroy Valo, the Nihil can destroy Lonisa City and the Republic Fair. Well, I can destroy this tower to stop the Nihil. And what a tremendous moment for Ram. Hopefully we see in future storytelling just the repercussions for his character going forward. I know it's got to be tragic. He's got to feel that loss, but for him to really step up and make that hard call and go for it. And yeah, he just snip the braid already. Like I hope the braid just gets...
Yeah, seriously, I was thinking about that. He's been this Padawan way too long at this point.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are my thoughts on this one. What did you think of HRA number 12?
Yeah. So not a very complex issue, and that's the first time I'm saying this in a while.
Yeah.
I feel like the last issue I definitely had to wrap my head around. Like, okay, you got Gavi that is having his Red Skulls pretending to be Nihil, and the general, the jailer guy is basically buying into it, loving how Gavi is so conniving, but he's really not. And then they had this ground war, so they're getting a little complex with the plot. This is just straight up action adventure. Yeah. Okay, you got Ram fighting against these guys on a Star Hopper. They have Therm Scissor Punch running in, and he's going, "What the hell's happening? Why are these now running away?" Therm Scissor Punch just steps onto the ring and just goes, "See ya," and he just chases them away. Then you have them two on reconnaissance with Dern, the Mune, and him, which is a great buddy cop combo. I want to see a whole miniseries based on those two characters because they just are a great duo, and they're just doing a surveillance on the Jedi Temple like, oh crap, there are a lot of Nihil here. And we didn't even mention this on the cover, but you have his droid is back.
Oh yeah.
The little trash can looking droid.
The droid speeder thing that drops him off onto the Crash Point Tower.
Something with a V, I think his name is. V or something like that. But I enjoyed that quite a bit, seeing that guy come back into play. I mean, this is a really cool thing to, like you said a little bit about his mechanical ability that's enhanced by the Force. V18. I like how we're always kind of focused on that with him. Seeing the flashbacks was a nice touch for sure. And yeah, for me, it was solid issue, as you said before. Solid issue, did everything he needed to do, and I'm looking forward to see where this goes at episode 13 or issue number 13, because I would like to catch up with what Lula and Zine Morala are doing at this point. But it seems like we probably have one more issue left to tie things up here on Valo for now.
Yeah, that's it. It's one more issue, and then 14 to 17, this finale, the Battle of Ariadu, for this run. Yeah, but I'm liking this detour to Valo. It's actually earned its place. I mean, it wasn't as much a thing. It's not like we're talking about a whole year of storytelling between, the Crimson Saga and Return of the Jedi. But it's okay. We're taking this detour to build up these characters. I think to continue to build up Ram. Continue to build up, probably build up Gavi and Zyle Keem. They're hanging around with Ram there, I believe, or are they with Farzala on the ship around there? And yeah, all these characters probably going to come into play in the Battle of Ariadu. I can imagine, and then that is going to, of course, be a key engagement in this Republic Nihil conflict. And so everything's connected. Everything High Republic, everything's connected, and that's why we love it. One of the reasons why we love it. And all these little characters, not little characters, but characters who have had all these stories, and DJO has shepherded this character of Ram spectacularly well. Again, he's started off this kind of a bit of an annoying, a bit of fumbling kid, and the quirks, he's able to now take the quirks into himself, but also make the sacrifice of this Crash Point Tower. A Jedi, oddly enough, Jedi even in this time isn't supposed to have as close of an attachment to a place. And so maybe that's the thing about him moving from a Padawan to a knight. Maybe this was the moment. Maybe this is it, that he has to, kind of what I'm getting at. He has to shed the attachment specifically to Valo. He can come back to Valo. He can be care about what's happening, but it seems like there was always this thing of he was from Valo, and a Jedi is supposed to be from the galaxy as a whole. And we can question that, we can debate that, but that's that's the growth that Ram has gone through. So again, focusing on the main character, which is a key point to a good story, is when the main character is actually the most interesting. So there you go. That's all I've got for this one. Any last thoughts on HRA number 12? All right, let's move on to the biggie. This was a chunky one. Battle of Jakku. Right. Two different stories. Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege, number 1, written by Alex Segura. Cover there by Torrin Clark. From the Depths, which is kind of Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege, number 5, or whatever the numbering. From the Depths, art by Stefano Raffaele, and colors by Alex Sinclair, and Consolidation, this B story, art by Jethro Morales, and colors by Jim Campbell. I think that's from same team as Insurgency Rising, I believe. So interesting little transition there. Anyway, still reeling from the events of Insurgency Rises. Luke must seek out a relic that could hold clues to the future of the Jedi Order. Luke Skywalker and a new friend find themselves cornered. Can two Imperial powerhouses find common ground against the nascent New Republic? Where are Han and Chewbacca? The heroes find themselves saved in the nick of time by a fan favorite guest star and ally. I have a guess is what you want to start with, Chris, but feel free to take it away. What do you think of? What do you think of specifically of From the Depths?
Oh man, I had Wikipedia at the ready, man. I had Wikipedia at my fingertips, going through these bald-faced fonts of who is this guy. What is the significance of this ship that was down to Kashyyyk? Yeah. Who's this guy in the background that has this different kind of Imperial garb on that our friend Joel turned me on to in the chat Discord? Yeah. There are so many nuggets in this darn issue that it took me like twice as long to read because I was spending so much time looking up the Easter eggs. Because, oh my goodness, are there a lot of Easter eggs in this? Probably more than I've ever read in a comic at once. It was so much because, as we all know, this is tying up together like 6 to 8 different things in one comic that's trying to do it all at once, So this is as Matt Moore from the splash page is saying, you really need an encyclopedia to read this.
You need Wikipedia. You need the Aftermath trilogy to have it out chapter and verse.
But I mean, as a Luke Skywalker huge fanatic, I am absolutely loving how we have that spotlight on Luke so much, and it wasn't on him for a lot of the previous iteration of the ongoing. So to see him front and center with a new character, Rynn, to see references to Asajj Ventress's master and different things like that. Did you know that?
Something to do with Asajj's master when she was a Padawan?
Yeah.
No, I didn't catch
that. That's the artifact that Luke was going after to try to keep out of the hands of the Acolytes of the Beyond. Talking about a compendium by Master Kai Narek.
I knew that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, and then they're talking about a reference to his Padawan going down the dark side. I was like, oh man, this is pretty juicy already. Yeah. This is like the first page, I'm like, oh man, we're in for a ride already. But it was cool. And it's funny because they keep pitting Luke Skywalker against this Acolyte of the Beyond girl with red hair, purposely at this point. It's like, oh my gosh, can you guys be more obvious? Yes, we get it. It's trying to be a reference to a mage. I was like, wait a minute, am I playing World of Warcraft? Or am I reading a Star Wars comic? Well, what's happening, man? Yeah. Archmage Khadgar, where are you, man? But you had that going on. I really appreciated Chandrilla because I'm reading this Reign of the Empire book, and there's so much about Chandrilla in this book. So I'm like, my gosh, this synergy is great between all this stuff happening, even though there's nothing in common at all with these two stories, but it's on my brain. But and then the stuff that's referencing to Aftermath with her and the Kashyyyk, and there's this Wookiee that apparently was from Legends that I don't know about. I think Matt was actually talking about on one of his social medias, or somebody was talking about it.
It's the one that talks to Leia, right? Calls Leia.
Yeah, the Wookiee on a Hollow. He's referencing this ship called the Ashmead's Lock, which was an ancient ship that had crashed to Kashyyyk, and that's where Nora Wexley's husband was kept prisoner. And they said that's the last time they found Oh, apparently, Matt's coming in clutch. Yeah. It's nice to have you in a chat to give us these answers.
Legends deep dive there. There we go.
Okay, so that Wookiee is from the Rogue Squadron comics, which I actually bought like this year. I got to read them. But
Terry Thrar.
Yeah, I got to read through dozens of spectacular, awesome comics. But yeah, no, I really like that part.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to parse out because there's a lot of depth in here because then you go into the stuff with Adelhard and about how, and that's where I'm having a hard time keeping it between the two different stories because they meld together so well.
Talk about them together.
Yeah. Okay, so I like the idea that Adelhard, we last left him off, and he was all like, okay, maybe I should look into the dark side. Like my ways are obviously not going the right way. And now he's making alliances with all these other factions, or at least, he's out there with Sloane trying to do something. He goes and he finds out a pathway to figure out what's going on with the scoundrel side of things with Zeva Bliss. He's making accords with the Acolytes of the Beyond now. Mm-hmm. So, and he's making accords with this general out there by Malastare. So he's trying to bring together all these powers. Meanwhile, you have Gallius Rax, you see the back of him and the coordinated things. So that's like, I'm looking forward to these two entities of the old empire going head to head, because we have that as a collision course. But to also see Lieutenant Alacia get found out by the Commander Bragg and about Adelhard too was interesting. But I mean, the biggest thing for me, how could I not? Dr. Afra coming in. We called this, it was like, okay, see her on cover 2. See her on cover 2. It's like, well, they're going to introduce her in issue 1 then.
Yeah.
As a cliffhanger, big jaw-dropping moment of, okay, I want to see her do something more than just be a plot device. Hopefully we get some background to what she's been up to in the last month or so. Yeah, I love the design. The outfit is sick. I don't know if that outfit was used before. Actually, I have a Black Series figure of her, and it might be in that same costume.
I have the vintage collection back there, but
I have the vintage collection up there. Yeah,
I mean, even the shadow here, just because all you really need are the goggles, right?
Yeah,
you know who it is.
Yeah, sorry, I'm running on with this statement. I enjoyed this issue. I'll let you take over from my scatterbrain thoughts on this one.
You're right. A lot happened in this issue, and it really pushed the story forward. I think the most solid pieces to pick up on, or to bite down on, if I can put it that way, are is Adelhard's, like you said, his alliances, especially how he maneuvers Grand General Loring into bending the knee. Because he's this great moment, this amazing moment. Adelhard, he's in the stormtrooper's head. I mean, probably just in his comms.
Yeah.
Revealing that his network is everywhere. His tentacles are everywhere, and he's able to literally point a blaster at Loring and saying, "Bend the knee. I'm the one tying all this together." Like you said, it's a collision course, because we also know what Rax is up to. Especially, I'm thinking, when are we going to get a reference to Operation Cinder here? That's not the big question, but that's a big kind of looming, lurking.
Wait, we already got the reference to Operation Cinder in the previous issue or something, because the Emperor's thing came up. The Sentinel.
So we got a bit of a thing, but in terms of just Rax's whole thing, his whole mission to wipe the Empire out. Yeah, to wipe the Empire out as it is, right? What with Palpatine, right? Wipe the game board and start over. Taking the Eclipse out to the unknown regions, right? We know that this is where that is going, even where Adelhard. Does Adelhard get on the Eclipse or not?
Yeah, really.
All those questions. So it's interesting to see here in this issue. He's like you mentioned, all these different factions that are now consolidated, hence the title, under his thumb, and they're posing this serious significant power base over and against what Rax is building from the shadows. Of course, Sloane is the face of it. Adelhard is very condescending to all these folks, including I don't know if we get oh gosh, I wrote down a bunch of names. Not Armitage Hux, Brendel Hux. You know what Brendel Hux is doing, and Captain Pelion. We almost had a bit of a. I mean, there's a Thrawn ad in there, so that's a little different. But you know, there it seems to be that it's coalescing into two different factions and two different groups. And yeah, Chuck Wendig, he went for the one group, and here now Alex Segura is going for this other developing this new faction. I mean, that's interesting that you think of the Battle of Jakku. It culminates in Jakku with, you know, Rax's remnant and the New Republic. This is this third faction building up here, and a character that is tremendous and formidable. And that's the thing to say about this character, about Adelhard, is you really believe it. You don't think it's coming out of nowhere. That he's able to actually build up. I don't want to say coalition, because it's not, you know, it's not a kind of democratic where it's all come together, but build the kind of pretty wide ranging faction that can really be. I mean, it's definitely a threat to the New Republic, and you see Mon and Leia reflect on that. And then I gotta say the compendium. I probably should have taken some time to research that. I thought, because I was thinking it was the map to the compass thing to the.
And that's
it's a different thing.
This is my biggest gripe with this issue, and it's been kind of a common thread we've been going on about. I feel like there is an issue that should have been in between us. I feel like we're jumping the gun quite a bit, right?
It does move forward. It really does.
Too fast, almost, because what the heck happened? Like they're on the Star Destroyer, all these guys. Didn't they capture Commander Bragg and Askura?
I think they make
captured them.
Yeah, they did.
And now they're suddenly back on the Star Destroyer. Like, what the heck is happening? And then Luke just somehow ends up on a planet with this artifact that we have no context for. I thought that was really jarring. I almost felt like, did they seriously like forget to do an issue?
Maybe. I mean, I don't think they forgot. I think maybe they're trying to pick it up in the middle. You're right. There is a story. Now that you point that out, there is a story kind of in between Insurgency Rising and Republic Under Siege. That maybe hopefully we'll get later. We'll get another time. Maybe in a video game. I don't know. In a video game. I don't know what. Well, that's interesting, right? Because there is a moment. The Pilio level in Battlefront 2 is tied into an issue in Insurgency Rising. What I will say is this does definitely situate us. The Leia talking to blanking on the Wookiee's name. But
I don't even want to try to pronounce it.
I did. I got it. I forget, but I got it. Here we go. Carry Thrower. There we go. Okay. It definitely situates. I mean, the reference to Ashmead's Lock. I mean, also, going to Kashyyyk, we know Chewie is he captured, or is he trying to rescue other Wookiees? It's been a long time since I read that.
It's been a long time.
But we know we're in life debt now.
We're in life debt for sure.
So I do wonder if...
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, this trilogy matches up perfectly with Aftermath. Like, the first arc is going to be Aftermath, second arc, Life Debt, third arc is obviously Empire's End.
Mm-hmm. And so, so that might suggest, I don't think there is anything, a Luke story in Life Debt, but if that can help, at least, in terms of our sense of things, fill in the gaps, maybe. So we'll see there. I got to talk about Chelly also. Again, like, just we knew it was coming. We knew, but Alex and Alex and Stefano and Alex Sinclair did such a fantastic job making it feel exciting. Again, I'm gonna bring this up. This one here, this shot, just the shadow and the goggles. again, all you need for Chelly, I don't even need to. I can just cover this. You know who this is, right? The goggles are so iconic, from Gillen Vader, Vader number 3, all the way till today. She is such a formidable force to be reckoned with. Live action soon, please. But yeah, that she showed up, and this is interesting. After her Melissa Wong run, we've wondered, what is she up to? Who is she working for? What's she doing? Her and Sana and Magna are kind of running away into the sunset there. And now we find Chelly. She's been trailing Luke and trying to capture this compendium. Yeah. We have no idea for who. She's the way she's talking. I mean, so the way she's talking, it's thanks for making us easy, Skywalker, to trail you more often. It suggests that she's working kind of independent, wants to sell it or something. I'm wondering if that's a bit of a bait and switch. I'm wondering if that's just the way she is, just her vibe, for her whole life, or everything we've known of her. And also, again, a bit of a misdirect in that we think she's has these nefarious ends, but what if she has something else in mind? What if she is leading to something maybe somewhat more benevolent, but more interesting that we don't know? I mean, this book has had so many twists and turns already. It could have something to do with Boban Kin and what he's up to. It could have something to do with what Luke and Lando are doing a few decades later or whatever. So yeah, the sky's the limit with this character. Fantastic reveal. Just definitely earned the full page thing. It's amazing. Again, you called it on this show that this is precisely what would happen, and it was still exciting.
I've read too many comics in my day to know these things. Okay?
Yeah. But so is Alex and Alex and Co. and Stefano and Alex Sinclair. They've read lots of comics to make it exciting. That's an achievement. I was really, really jazzed for Chelly to show up here like that. So really looking forward to issue number 2. Guess what, guys? Issue number 2 comes out in a week. So don't you worry. If you have anything more to say, we have a bit of time. And more to get into with this issue.
So the next issue is out next week already?
It's out next week.
Oh my goodness, I love when that happens. That's so great. Awesome. That's so good when these things are coming out like a TV show every week. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's true. It feels like oh, I don't have to worry about the cliffhanger. I can enjoy the cliffhanger without having to wait for a month.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we got that coming out next week, the week of Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
And then the week after that, we got Skeleton Crew already, guys. So we're in the thick of it right now with our weekly Star Wars stories. So there we go. Yeah, I mean, as far as everything else about this issue, we have Lando on the cover, but Lando is nowhere to be found, unfortunately. I was hoping to catch up with him and his awesome Lady Luck ship.
Yeah, what's he doing?
It's interesting that, again, the question goes, what's Luke doing here? Why is he bringing Rynn with him?
Yeah.
This random X-Wing pilot. What is she going to do with him? What is happening here?
It feels like a novel adaptation in that way. Right? Like the Thrawn Alliance's adaptation, which just jumps and drops you in the middle. And if you've read the book, you kind of know you have more context. Again, I agree. I hope we get more context for this. Here's hoping. If not, in somewhere, hopefully in issue 2, they can figure out a way to tell us what's going on.
Yeah,
dialogue or something.
Maybe they retroactively be like, oh, the reason why I've been hunting for this, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I'm also getting. I just thought about this today. Lieutenant Alicia is kind of giving me Juno Eclipse vibes from The Force Unleashed. You have a blonde officer, first of all. You don't see that a lot in the Imperial Army, so it's pretty cool. But then she's also working against the Empire, getting these people out. That was pretty brutal. Like, she's like, okay, I'm going to take this guy to interrogation. We find out she kills him. Like, I didn't know she had it in her to kill somebody like that.
Very Andor Ring of Khafreen kind of thing.
Yeah, how like, oh man, they're like, oh shoot, we got freaking betrayed. Oh no.
Yeah.
It's like, it's interesting too. Like, going back to the pod, I keep going back to this. But why would Luke not just take the guy out last week or the last issue? Like, you just caused yourself so much trouble. I know Jedi shouldn't kill, but like, you could have done something more than just. You knew that guy was going to survive, but doing that,
Adelhard.
You're going to cause more death now because you could have stopped it right then and there. You had the Star Destroyer under control, and now the Star Destroyer is back there, and you see rebels dying left and right, or New Republic soldiers dying left and right. I wish they could have done a better job with justifying the choice that Luke made, because he just opened up a can of worms for the New Republic that they didn't need, because now they're fighting two fronts. They could have ended it right there.
Like, to let Adelhard live, you mean?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's an interesting concept. I mean,
I get it. Like, they had the sense of urgency last issue. Like, oh, we got to go. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. We got to wait for Luke. Like, would it have taken that much for Luke to just at least take the guy prisoner and just drag him for a little bit? Like,
yeah. I mean, he would have had to mow down all the Star Destroyer stormtroopers, rather, which he does a little bit. But, just thinking, here's an interesting thing. Thinking about that annual issue number 50, how he's faced with the prospect of mass killing, and he holds back. He says, no, we can't do this. It's an interesting, not quite a contrast to Mandalorian season 2, because those are droids, and so it's different. Maybe he's he's still the same Luke, just weeks before or months before threw his lightsaber away and was willing to die rather than kill his father. So I see it. I get it. I get what you're saying too in terms of a tactical decision. Maybe, it'd be interesting if that is considered. In Return of the Jedi, it's considered a great strength. It is what brings Anakin back to the light side. If in this, similar to a similar sort of conversation that Mon and Leia have here, in that Mon is saying, to Leia, it's very almost a beat for beat, a very similar conversation that they have in Life Debt, about how a government and trying to build an actual the statecraft is different than a rebellion or revolution. These different kind of tactics. Maybe that's partly what Luke is thinking. I don't know if he's thinking that. The way, of course, Empire's End goes, we know that statecraft depends on mobilizing a fleet to actually go to Jakku, and that the drama of that novel hinges on that Senate vote in a lot of ways, for the most part, or not for the most part, but certainly through the good chunk of that novel. And so, yeah, it's an interesting question of, is Luke's restraint, maybe this is what you're asking, is Luke's restraint a weakness or a strength? And is the story going to say, Luke, you're kind of limited here, and you just limited yourself here, and maybe that he might actually face that consequence from Mon Mothma or from Leia or somebody, or is it going to become a strength? And who knows? Maybe it's like a Gollum thing. Who knows what Adelhard's purpose is? You never know. I do get what you're saying, but it's an interesting question, and I my gut is to trust Alex to know why he made that decision, and to what the long-term purposes, because this book is really planned out for the long haul. So
it is, yeah. But I'm ready to get into the news. There's some good news stories this week we want to touch upon.
Yes, so we have 3 news bits that come out last week in a bit. First off, Kevin Scott talking about High Republic ending. So this is, if you haven't signed up for his Cav letter, he's not on Twitter. He's on Threads, I believe. He's on Instagram, but really sign up for his Cav letter. Do that for all these authors. But yeah, he gives some really fascinating tidbit about The ending of High Republic, he was asked some weird, odd question. I don't understand why someone said High Republic is canceled. No, it wasn't canceled. Said, that the Luminous at the Luminous Retreat on that whiteboard, there's a note that says actual ending. And the things of what Star Wars is and what makes Star Wars great. One of the things that says actual ending on there. So he has a photo in the Cav letter highlighting that. Reason I'm bringing this up tonight, comics podcast, is because he has a whole paragraph here on Keeve and on the comic, it's the Marvel mainline comic or whatever it's going to be called, starting in February. When it comes to the Marvel comic, and this is from quoting here, I actually wrote a first draft of the final 3 pages in phase 3 when I started writing issue 1 back in 2020, phase 1. They've been hidden away in a folder on my computer ever since, and I pulled them out when I finally sat down to write the final issue. Some of the dialogue had to be adapted slightly to match storytelling that had developed on the way, but Keeve Trennis' closing lines are pretty much what I wrote back then, word for word. And I love everything about this. I've been curious about Keeve since her name popped up, and like, oh, that's that character name that you name dropped in Dooku Jedi Lost, right? The 19th departed master is that departure, and another thing we know is effectively not explicitly, but effectively the story that Cavitt had planned out was likely her departure from the Order. So he's had how he's wanted to bring that to an end, bring that story to an end. Yeah, specifically word for word planned out, and the motivations behind it. And it'll be really amazing to get there and to look back and to say, and I'll probably do the kind of deep dive thing of saying, okay, this is how she got there. And we can really see it. Because that's the thing. That's the hardest thing to do in storytelling is finish, right? We know Star Wars stories. We know other stories that just struggle to nail the landing, and that it's so important that the Luminous authors. I mean, Charles. Everybody had, Charles knew what Trials of the Jedi was going to be. He knew it's probably something kind of similar to the way Light of the Jedi ends. And Cav knowing how this comic is going to end, interestingly, also makes me think it's going to be like Charles said with Trials of the Jedi. Trying to keep story here in this comic book, it's going to zero in on her as an individual person. I don't know. It might be as pivotal, or might be it won't be as pivotal because that's the novel, the finale novel. It might be might be at least in the orbit of that depth and that weight and that impact on the overall story, or it might not, and that's okay because Keeve has been interesting enough of a character to follow through this in the context of the wider High Republic. It might not, meaning her departure from the Order and how that goes down. It's going to have repercussions on the Jedi. Maybe even in light of what we see in the Acolyte, or who knows what. But is it going to have the type of impact on Markian Rowan, the Nameless, and the Nihil that what Charles is writing? Not necessarily, but still, I'm just really gratified to hear that they've planned this out so well, and that it still works. That's another amazing thing, that it still fits and works, and they've brought all their storytelling experience to bear in ensuring that this is the story they've told. Because that's the thing about an end of a story. The word end means both the ending, the final thing, and the purpose, the end. To what end are we telling the story? Right. So, big fan of hearing this and knowing that just the specificity of this. So I don't know what when Cav mentions these things, what strikes you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to see that, okay, he's meaning like her words are like, I'm done with the Jedi or something. Like this is what was put down in that audio drama all those years ago. But as you put it, when they have like 10 or 11 official people part of Project Luminous, like it's a lot of thoughts, a lot of things that aren't on that board with all these new names and stuff on the team. It's still got to be hard to eventually come to that conclusion with all these other story points that are revolving around at light speed, right? So getting through that, and the idea that he's leaving the door open, he says specifically like, oh yeah, there's not going to be a phase 4, but like maybe we'll get like another series of Keith Trennis after the events of the High Republic's initiative of like what she is doing, that part of the Jedi Order. What is she doing out there? So it's cool to see like, hey, we're not going to necessarily have the High Republic banner on these books and stories anymore, but some of the characters that survive we'll be able to maybe see them go a little bit further into the timeline.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's another thing we haven't seen is our Jedi or non-Jedi Force users that aren't dark side. Because I do not believe she's falling to the dark side at all. That does not fit with her trajectory. But yeah, I mean, we have Calvin Scott's Saber for Hire and everything with goodness gracious, what's the character's name? York. Yeah, she's kind of using it to make a quick buck, a little bit, using the Force to make but she also comes back to the light, and there's a pull back to the light, not necessarily to the Jedi. And that's an interesting thing also about this time period. But we see in Calvin Scott's done this as well with Phase 2, with Jedha and everything we saw there. And how interesting and fascinating, there's these other Force users, organized or not, on Jedha that aren't dark side, they're light. So, I think of Ahsoka, right? What she ends up doing. Ahsoka's story is you can take the Jedi out of the temple, but can you take the temple out of the Jedi? Is another thing. So, that's fascinating. I definitely want further storytelling. Get another comic. Just Keith Trennis. Why not? Maybe do a bit of a time jump. I don't know. Any last thoughts on this news bit? We can move right along. Free Comic Book Day. There's a certain holiday in May. May is always fun for Star Wars fans because we got Free Comic Book Day. We have another day called May the 4th. So Free Comic Book Day is on May the 3rd, 2025. So it's the eve of May the 4th. And of course, so that's always a fun thing with Star Wars and Marvel.com, letting us know what they have coming up for Star Wars. There is an all ages comic. We can get to that another time, but we get to the Marvel, like an all ages from Dark Horse. We'll get to that another time. But there's
Young Jedi Adventures. It's another Young Jedi Adventures.
Yeah, which was pretty fun last year. This year in the Marvel book, show you the cover by Mr. Phil Noto, as always. We got Vader and Kylo and Luke and Qui-Gon. There we go. So this is covered by Phil Noto. 3 writers are kind of the big usual suspects now: Alex Segura, Charles Soule, Mark Guggenheim. Art by Phil Noto, Luke Ross, Stefano Raffaele, and Matabek Muzabekov. We can guess who the pairs are there. And then the description celebrating the new era of Star Wars comics, as I quote down there. Luke Skywalker finds himself in a wretched hive of scum and villainy, facing off against pirates. And I'm guessing that's going to be the Segura book, Alex's book. Jedi Knights Qui-Gon Jinn and Tensu Run are on the hunt for the villainous Corliss Wrath. It's probably Mark Guggenheim's book. And who is this mysterious Vane? And what is his connection to Darth Vader and Kylo Ren? And that's likely the Charles Soule book. Now, the reason I'm matching that up is because there's all these 2 books we know that are coming out in 2025. Of course, Mark Guggenheim's Jedi Knights book and Charles Soule's Legacy of Vader book. You were struck by Luke's involvement in this. You want to talk about that and everything else that strikes you about this announcement?
Yeah, so in years past with these Free Comic Book Day or even the one-shots that give us a glimpse of the future that they give us in December usually, which I guess they're not doing this year. Damn, I really like those things. So, well, it makes sense.
They're doing a 12 shot instead of a 1 shot.
Yeah. So it makes me question, okay, like this is going to be out in May, well after Battle of Jakku is over and done with. So, the other things are based off of ongoing arcs between the legacy of Darth Vader as well as Jedi Knights, as you mentioned, with both those artists and the creative teams. But then you questionably have Alex Segura doing a Luke Skywalker story. It's like, that's the one puzzle piece. It's like, what are they trying to promote? Exactly. Yeah. And I think if the Battle of Jakku was over by now somehow, if they started earlier, they would have already said like, oh, there's a new ongoing with Luke going out, or a new Star Wars ongoing. I think maybe by the end of the final issue in January, there'll be a nice big advertisement for Alex Segura will continue to write about Luke, Han, and Leia. And I think that would maybe come out, like if they were to plan it out, maybe come out right around the time of this, actually, maybe in May. Maybe in May would be the time to do it, have a big review. They would know by Celebration, obviously, but I think this would be, I think that's all signs are pointing to, okay, there's going to be 3 ongoings going forward.
Yes. I mean, they know now. And this is, New York Charles saying, I know what they're doing. This is probably how he knows, is because he's sharing a book with the kickoff to it, and Marvel does this interestingly, reading Avengers by Jed McKay, and there's this their big Marvel crossover was Blood Hunt, and they Marvel does this a lot, actually. They have a kickoff as the Free Comic Book Day.
That's right.
They usually do their big events in the summer, or start them in the summer. And so Blood Hunt was a pretty great book, starring my girl Carol Danvers. And anyway, so yeah, that's why that's why I'm kind of delayed on some Star Wars books, because I've been reading that and catching up on that one. Anyway, so this fits actually with what Marvel's doing. Like you said, this is 2 weeks after Celebration. Also another, kind of with the party, keep the party going. So yeah, they're probably going to be some big news reveals, discussion, a meaty comics panel at Celebration, talking about this kind of the thing we hoped New York Comic Con would do, but I guess they were saving it for Star Wars Disney owned property. And that's
seems that way anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. The thing that excited me the most, and I guess 2 things. Well, the thing that excited me the most is Tensu Run.
Yeah,
but he's not a one and done. He was a cool character. He was an interesting character. Really quick and dirty comic by Rodney Merz was pretty good. But he eats it at the end, right? So right, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering correctly. So here we're obviously going back in time, to where when Qui-Gon and Tensu, and of course Mark, when I did the autograph signing, Mark Guggenheim told me, he meant to say this in the panel. He said, that his Jedi Knights book, it's going to have a through line with Qui-Gon. I'm wondering if it's going to have a through line with Qui-Gon and Tensu Run, if they're going to be teaming up, which, I mean, again, Rodney did such a great job laying down this new character and building him up and making him interesting, because we get a lot of moments of him sitting and contemplating on being, kind of led, on the implications of collateral damage and him being a Jedi is dangerous for innocence, thinking and reflecting at the type of depth we see Qui-Gon do, in a whole very different situation. Obviously, Qui-Gon never lived to see the Empire, but here he is, teaching and guiding a much younger Tensu Run. I mean, I'm curious to know when this is. Where's Obi-Wan in this? Because Qui-Gon has the Padawan, until he dies. So, that excites me. Also interesting, then, that's the large scale interesting question. For the last 9.5 years, coming up to 10 years, we've had these main ongoings, largely, I mean, at least with the exception of from 2017 to 2020, we've had these main ongoings set at the same time. And I mean, there's this great moment in the Vader, Charles Soule's Vader, and I guess would have been Kieran Gillen's ongoing. No, it was Jason Aaron's ongoing, right? With I guess Kieran Gillen had taken over the ongoing by that point. And I think the crossover, this Mongala crossover 20 years apart. But yeah, I mean, that's the one exception. But by and large, yeah, it's been A New Hope to Empire, and then Empire to Return of the Jedi. Here, the 3 ongoings are all in different time periods, right? I'm guessing the Luke one will be, like you said, after Jakku. We know Qui-Gon's around, so it's got to be before Phantom Menace. And then, of course, Legacy of Vader is in the sequel era with Kylo Ren. So, it's gonna feel. I wonder if it's gonna feel as connected. I mean, I guess it won't. But if they're gonna make ways of connecting stories, I mean, I wonder. This is a bit of a ham-fisted way, but I know a little bit of the vector, the Legends, kind of quasi crossover of this character gets frozen in time and then pops up in different time periods. That was a Legend story, or it's just they're free to do 3 different independent books, and why not? It's going to be something for everyone, and going to make diversity being the spice of life here. So, it's going to feel different. It's going to feel refreshingly different if that's the case, because it's nice to not worry about how things line up, and we won't have to worry about release orders and all that, because that got to be interesting in the last few years. So that's a good interesting thought. Great thought that we're gonna have these 3 different in the 3 trilogies, around the 3 trilogies ish, 3 film trilogies, and at least 2 slightly before, 1 after, but still, you know what I mean. And just very kind of different ways. Of course, all 3 of them very space wizardy. That's another thing to say is all 3 Jedi Knights and Luke focused thing, and of course Kylo Ren and Vader. So I'm excited. It's interesting. They're just making this very subtle announcement. They haven't made the big splash yet, which okay, that's the strategy. I mean, there's the question. This is the thing we go back and forth on. Would they, if they had made a bigger splash, would at New York, would the 2025 would have garnered more buzz? This is their way of making the splash. They'll make the splash at Celebration, but did they miss an opportunity, or are they going to be okay? Do you think?
I mean, it'll be okay in the long run. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, comics are such a small subset of the fan base as it is. So just a couple of people disgruntled about how they could have shown this is not going to matter in the long run.
Sure. We're going to buy it. We're going to read it. We're going to review it. We're going to talk about it on Tractor Beam Comics Reviews.
Yes.
And enjoy whatever comes out of Celebration.
And something we are going to talk about this time is this upcoming The Rise of Skywalker.
So on that note,
miniseries. That's the one adaptation we better be reviewing, because apparently there's going to be updated stuff that wasn't seen in a movie.
I got the blurb here. So yes, that's the third bit of news today. I woke up. Joel sent me this message and he's like, oh wow. My first thought was pretty funny, but anyway, today Marvel.com announcing 5 years later the Rise of Skywalker comic adaptation. There we go. So somehow a pathway to something unnatural. Marvel Comics' historic tradition of Star Wars comic book adaptations continues this February, so coming around the corner, with Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker adaptation. Written by Jody Houser and drawn by artist Will Sliney, the previously announced 5-issue limited series brings 2019 Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker film to the page at last. In addition to retelling the Resistance's desperate last stand, the shocking return of Emperor Palpatine, and more, The series will include all new scenes not in the final film, as you mentioned. Before we get to the specific page you really wanted to dive into, I just want to, note, I mean, it is a little humorous. I mean, COVID happened, and the response to Rise of Skywalker happened, and but one thing did happen was the novelization by Ray Carson, which I do have. I haven't read it yet.
You haven't read it yet?
No, I haven't.
Dude, it makes the movie so much better.
So have you read the Rogue One adaptation, comic adaptation, and the Alexander Freed novel?
Oh, yeah.
Novelization. Are the added scenes in both the same?
No.
Okay, they're different added. Okay, because that's the question: is how would this relate to? I mean, it's maybe it's apples and oranges, but how do the new things in the novelization, how would they relate to the new things in this comic book? So it's a good question. Also, great to see Jodie Hauser able to work, able to be involved. We suspect she may have had some health concerns. We don't want to speculate too far, but good to see, that this is here and it's published. It's getting published in February. So especially given the new things, because me in adaptations, but given the new editions, we'll give us a go. Especially it's a page like this. This really struck you. So of course, internal art by Will Sliney.
Cool.
Ray and Leia training montage.
Wow. Asian Claw. What's Asian Claws?
I think so.
Yeah, Asian Claws, because that's the planet where she was training as well. Fluke. Mm-hmm. That first year, tying back into the ongoing, I want to have that whole sequence of Luke training Leia for a whole year.
Yeah.
There we go. But this is cool. This is why I love comics, because we get this really cool art representing that really paints us a new picture in our minds of what has happened in the past, what is going on here. My thoughts on this are, it's about time. It was weird that we've gone this long with having that empty part on the shelf with, okay, got Force Awakens, got Last Jedi, got all these other movies except this one. What is happening here? And it just adds more fuel to the fire of something I said, I think last week or the week before, where especially with like the news stories that have been coming out like at blazing speed every other day, we're getting a new report on Daisy Ridley or something about Rey. It looks like all signs are pointing to, okay, the Lucasfilm is going full steam ahead into like the sequel trilogy. So they want to get us like that appetizer now to get our minds back into the sequel trilogy space of things, because it's been literally like 5 years. As soon as Rise of Skywalker came out, they like backed off the gas substantially. They're like, all right, we need to just get away from this. Let's go to the High Republic quick, So that's kind of where things are right now. So it looks like this is just an initiative by Lucasfilm, because now we're going to have the story that takes place right before this with the legacy of Kylo Ren, which is actually starting up the same month, earlier in that month of February. This is coming out at the end of February. Right. And it's just like, you look at the schedule of things, right? Like Lucasfilm always wants to have some kind of comic adaptation to, as bad as this sounds, to fill their coffers. Essentially, it's like, okay, we can't just have like 2 comics a month. All right, let's just do an easy adaptation. Easy in a sense of like the story's already done. Just get a good artist on here, and we can basically print money for the covers, which is a lot of this is. That's so. That's kind of what it is. I know there's people out there on Twitter today, so going, oh, we got to get the Book of Boba Fett adaptation. We got to get the other adaptation for this other thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, they'll get there eventually, I'm sure. It's just because like Marvel eventually will have a gap where there will be no adaptation, and they'll have to go back and do the Book of Boba Fett. They'll have to go back. They'll have to do the Acolyte. They'll have to do all those eventually.
So the Acolyte season 2, the comic book.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I've talked about the Disney Plus show adaptations. I even picked up issue number 5, Ahsoka number 5. I'm like, okay, I just want to read the book. I got it for the variants. The variants are fantastic. the Luke or Anakin in Clone Wars, Anakin in Clone Wars armor. But yeah, that's the thing about a film adaptation. You're right, is they can add new things and they can give a new perspective, even on the film, because the Rey training on Agent Claw's scene is in the film. The flashback of Leia training is in the film, but they're at separate points. Here, Will Sonny has literally made the mirror images of each other, and by mirror images to relate the two, to say this continuity. Yes, Rey seeks a lot of continuity with Luke in The Last Jedi, with Han in Force Awakens, but with Leia in seeking that continuity, and continuity as in learning from, receiving the mastery of. And of course, in Rise of Skywalker, I mean, if Carrie Fisher had lived, I think would have been a lot more. Here we have it in comic book form, and again, this shot, this image is not in the film at all, right? But it's conceptually there, and I'll really be amazed at what if there is a context to where this shows up in the film, in the comic book. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's sort of like the Phil Noto covers for Calvin Scott's High Republic, where it is a full page, and then a few issues later, the end of the arc later, it's another full page. Here, I don't know. Maybe here they're kind of showing what Will Sonny's doing with this. But I mean, I kind of hope even they have to rearrange the story a little bit to tie these moments together. Yeah, it's it really poignant, moving moment, moving image. So
yeah, we're gonna get Kylo Ren, Ben Solo talking to Ive Webish, Balgon, Mustafar, right? That was in the adaptation.
Yeah.
So expect stuff like that. I would say expect stuff like that. Maybe a little bit more. I mean, there's a lot of holes that can be filled in this thing, and Jodie Hauser, I'm sure she has notes from Lucasfilm. So hopefully we get the definitive story of the Rise of Skywalker between this and the adaptation that's by Ray Carson.
And also, that's good to again filling out this film. That's the thing, is that the film itself needed these kinds of things, frankly. Fill it out. So yeah, I definitely should read the novelization. That, I'm guessing, that does add a lot. And the thing of taking time. That's the thing about a novel, especially. I say this a lot on Iron Canon. Can take the time. A comic book here can also take the time. And again, here, give us a visual that we haven't seen before. So there. Also, to say with Jodie Hauser, again, I don't know what her personal circumstances are. If this was actually done relatively recently, does that, again, I have no idea, does that give us hope for Thrawn Alliance's adaptation to be finished? Because I mean, the novel adaptations I'm definitely excited by. And so in that one, was odd. Understandable if she just simply couldn't, her and Tim Zahn simply couldn't finish it, but does that mean now it's a possibility sometime in the future? Because that was a good one. That was a decent one. And so get more of that. So I don't know. Any last thoughts on this one? There we go. I think that about does it for this show. Again, next week, like I said, Republic Under Siege #2. Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone #2, which picks up on the short story, our Republic short story we talked about last week, and Echoes of Fear #3 with my guy Reith, our guy George Mann. I'm guessing of these three, which one you're most excited for, but I'll let you give your answer.
Yeah, I mean, Republic Under Siege #2. I mean, big surprise there.
Yeah.
Although I'm really looking forward to the High Republic stories too, because those give out a lot of fleshing of they flesh out the universe quite well. As we said about the High Republic adventures, focusing on individual characters, not really telling the novel stories of the overarching conflict of the Nihil and all that. But Echoes of Fear, especially after what we've seen with my good buddy there, the guy that got trapped over on Planet X, Barnabas Zim. Or Vim? Barnabas Vim.
I got a fly buzzing around, tickling my head.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that because we're going to get another issue that's going to go back in time. It looks like with the Pathfinders, which are some of my favorite inclusions that are in the High Republic, that whole team aspect of the medics and the pilots and engineers and all that kind of fun stuff. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to Dispatch from the Occlusion Zone because I think we might be getting a story that's centered around Drigget, however you want to pronounce it, there on Iriadu. I believe she's on Iriadu. So she's going to get the transmission from the droid. And we know she's actually working for the Republic in a way, right? She's like deep undercover, like a double agent. So according to the magazine.
So on the cover, I believe that's Rue and Crash. So this is Alyssa Wong's issue.
Oh, okay.
So it's Rue and Crash, but with Rue, like in the was the last issue was the last issue? Or was it was the short story? Rue and Drigget are on this chase for this the plans for this ship, right? And trying to sort all that. So again, picking right up from at least where we left off last week. Excited for that. It's funny. Republic Under Siege, fantastic. Chelly, fantastic. Wreath, my guy Wreath. I'm jonesing for more Wreath stories. And the thing, and what Wreath learns from this phase 2 story, because that's the thing. Everything with Wreath is doing is at the very center of this conflict with the Nameless, and who the Jedi are and who this character is. So honestly, I mean, loving all these, but more interested in most looking. My heart's looking forward to Echoes of Fear #3. I'll love all of them, but you got a comment from Gustavo here. Loved Leia in Republic Under Siege #1. Yeah, she was great. There you go. Thanks for joining us. But I guess that about does it for Tractor Comics reviews this week. Just thanks again for another great episode. Diving in, lots of in-depth conversation as well as talking about news, which we don't do as much here. But
big show with the news today.
There we go. Thanks again. Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me primarily on YouTube, youtube.com/StarRaptor. It's been very busy with all of the Star Wars news that's flying around here. It's crazy. We're in the lead up to Skeleton Crew, but yet we're having Andor news. So I'm talking about it on my weekly show, Outer Rim Transmission, every week on Sunday, 7 p.m. Me and the guys are chatting the latest in Star Wars. Also, last week, right after the show, we had a release of a new Star Wars audiobook called Star Wars The High Republic Seeds of Starlight. So if you're fans of The High Republic, I do recommend this 4.5-hour audiobook. It's only part 1 of 2. Part 2 is coming out next year. But I had a pleasant experience listening to that one all in the span of a single day. I was even running around my neighborhood listening to this thing. So it was
literally running around, right?
Literally, I was literally running around during the climax of the entire third act, and it was great because there was blaster bolts flying around, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're coming after me!" It was giving me more motivation to run.
Wow. That's by George Mann as well, right? So
yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Again, I'm trying to catch up on these Avengers comics, so I will get into this audiobook soon. I don't drive anywhere because I don't have a car. So when I have a car, I had a car for the Padawan, the Anakin Obi-Wan book, so audiobook. So maybe I'll borrow a car or just listen to this. No, I'm just kidding. I'll
go for a walk. Go for a walk.
I go for a walk. It's not that cold out here. You can find me on Instagram and Threads, MEUG1138. I'm going to make the jump to Blue Sky as well. You can find me on Twitter still, NEUG485. I'm going to stick around there. Fly wants to follow me on Instagram.
Reenacting the Fly episode of Breaking Bad here on
Fly wants to follow me so this Fly wants to follow me at beaches.foodie on Instagram, my food Instagram, which I haven't posted enough. I need to do more of that. Welcome to check that out. Of course, at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and then ioncannon.bluesky.whatever, however that works. I have to figure that out soon. Yeah. But yeah, we're staying on Twitter as well. On Canon, on the next Ion Canon podcast, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Monday, right here on the Underworld YouTube channel and Twitch. Ion Canon Twitch. We are talking about non-Jedi characters and the Force. Maybe civilians and I guess you can call them Muggles or whoever, but also probably just non-Jedi Force users like the future Keith Trennis, maybe. So please do tune into that. I know Joel wants to talk about the Visions news.
Oh yeah.
Also, there's that what's the show coming out in a few weeks? That one, the
Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew. So I have too many words in my head, guys. Also, they haven't marketed it very well.
Yeah, I will give you that. That's why I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to say it, but I have a feeling this is gonna bomb hard.
It might not. I think it might be actually a big surprise. Yeah, they've lowered expectations too. But yeah, so the Skeleton Crew Roundtable, we'll probably talk about that. But main topic will be on non-Jedi characters in the Force. So please do check that out and check out the flagship and what they're up to. Probably about Skeleton Crew and probably Andor, and I don't know what they're also going to talk about. But yeah,
one last thing too. One last thing for all you gamers out there. If you haven't played it, if you put it down after a couple months, Star Wars Outlaws is coming out with a mega size update tomorrow. It's going to revitalize the entire open world of the game. They're redoing several aspects of enemies to weapon handling to all this stuff. Plus, it's coming out on top of a brand new story DLC, the first story DLC involving Lando. It's called Most Wanted or something like that. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of sabacc playing for me tomorrow. So you can catch me on Twitter. Twitter.com/StarRaptor. I'll probably be chatting about my experiences through jumping back into Outlaws for the first time since like August. It's going to be good to get back into that open world.
The key question is this a paid DLC or is it a free DLC?
Oh, it's very much paid.
Come on, I don't know. Maybe, I guess it's substantial enough that you got to pay for it. Fair.
Hopefully it's not like an hour and I just spent $20 on an hour of content. I really hope it's like a 4 or 5 hour experience.
So
but we'll
significant enough. I'm also, if you follow me on Twitter, manifesting Era's tour tickets. She's here again the next 3 days, so there I am. But yeah, I guess that's it. Tracking comics reviews. So I guess this is Fly.
I was gonna say
the heck out of me.
For Matthew, for Chris, and for the Fly in Matthew's studio. It's gonna do it for us here on Tractor Beam.
There we go. Yes. So next week, we're looking at Siege number 2, Dispatches from the Illusion Zone number 2, and Echoes of Fear number 3. Check out your local comic book shop for physical issues or pick them up on digital if that is more your speed. Also, again, speaking of speed, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We are going to be there. We're on Spotify now. Going to be on Apple Podcasts very soon. Hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning. If I can get that going tonight. So there we go. That's the episode. Until then, until next week. Happy reading.